You recording?
Hello. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I believe so.
We're recorded. We'll do a pop and a pop, and that'll line us up for later.
Deal.
And we got nothing, no agenda. I was trying to think of what could be a good name to call this, and I was thinking, call it the Tired Eyes Podcast, where if you're exhausted from your sense of sight because you've been looking at so many things internet-wise, right? The internet is competing for our visual attention more than anything. And so to create a, quote, podcast or some sort of dialogue that, you don't need to look at the screen. We don't need to feed the audience with some visual, beautiful thing. We could serenade the audience with ideas through just our voice, and that's, absolutely, I think, the cool part of the evolution of the internet is becoming more audio heavy because people are tired. Their eyes are getting fucking tired of seeing the exact same things over and over again. People copying other people just for 5 seconds of attention, and my eyes are exhausted from opening up the internet and pretty much seeing the exact same thing every time. So,
yeah, I mean that's the world we've come to, is a redundant pool of entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's if you're not cooking in front of your phone, then you're dancing. If you're not dancing, then you're eating.
Yeah.
Rating things from 1
or
to
you're
10.
jiggling your boobies and your ass.
No, I mean, and that's another thing too. I mean, just the whole way we view each other as the opposite sex, and I mean, everything has become distorted in general. Regardless of what topic you want, politics, health, everything has become distorted because you have people online who speak with such confidence as if they know. Most of them are sub 40 or 50 years, so they haven't even lived even half a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what real knowledge do they have to give the rest of the world? It's questionable. Not to say that they don't know, it's just, take everything with a grain of salt.
And to think about the world now, there's a digital world that really started only 20 years ago. So who's the oldest in the digital world? Because you could have a 80-year-old grandma that just discovered Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, last year. So technically she's, even though in her physical age, she's older and wiser than all of us in this world. But in the digital world, she's an adolescent. So you have all these adolescents in the digital world that grew up with technology.
Yep.
And they're the adults in the digital world, whereas the adults in the physical world are like children online. And a lot of the times, most of the childish acts that I've begun to see on the internet, especially in the past few years, are from like your parents or from people's parents trying to act like kids online because to them it's a new playground,
Yeah. There's also, I think, this shift in mindset that you were told to do certain things growing up, which is what your parents did because they were told to do that, and that's what their parents did because they were told to do that. And so you have this lineage of conformity and discipline outside of your own like well-being and desires and dreams, and right? It's just like you should go to school, you have to graduate high school, you have to graduate college, you have to get a house, you have to get married and have kids. Like these are conformities that have been continually reaffirmed over and over and over. And in reality, that's true for some and not for others. And so this idea that like it's a one-size-fits-all world for everybody is what's been sold, and I think that's a little bit skewed in terms of what reality is, because most people don't experience the same upbringing or the same environment or the same education, you name it. I mean, no two snowflakes are the same, no two people are the same. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Diverse. What do you say? The thing you always. What was the thing you burned on that one thing? The strongest foundations are made from
non-concentric
stones, right? Diversity is the key to structural
integrity. Yep.
And so that's not what we've been taught. We haven't been taught that the diversity is the key to structural integrity. We've been taught that you need to follow these patterns that everybody else follows in order to fit in and be accepted and be happy and blah 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 blah.
Well, conformity makes money.
Narrative.
You know what I mean? To standardize things, such as the railroad. Like that was the reason why the railroad became what it became, was because we standardized the size of the rail. So you had all these people that had this vision to move goods from one side of the country to another, one side of the world to another, and they were all making different size railroad tracks. But eventually they all said, hey, like your train's not going to fit on my tracks. So we need to conform and create this one size fits all so that we can then move all these goods from one end of...
So conformity makes sense in certain...
So from monetarily speaking, conformity is great. And for quick production, hell yeah. You can create 100 seats on the airplane and send an order to the manufacturer, and he's going to make 100 of the exact same seats. Yet every single person that's buying a ticket for that plane is a different size and shape. And so the one size fits all works in capitalism. It works for productivity. But when
the human experience,
when it comes down to the human experience, no, man, your shoes are never going to fit comfortably on my feet, and my shoes are never going to fit comfortably on your feet. But
yet here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
What were we talking about earlier on the phone?
The internet.
No, it was what was it? Well, I mean, think like what's something current that's going on? I don't want to talk politics, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I can only speak from personal experience, right? Because every time we open our computer, we're each getting suggestions.
Different.
Like what's going on your online life and my online life? The suggestions of videos that I'm seeing compared to the videos that you're seeing. This is interesting.
Yes, this is very good. So I've actually been reading a book recently about not about this, but it touches on this topic and the idea of essentially what you're speaking on is the idea of choice. It's called, quote, choice narrative. Or I'm sorry, choice, not choice narrative. It's called choice architecture. And so the concept is choice architecture. Choice architecture is the idea that the way you're fed something shapes the way you decide on it, right? And I'm going to butcher this, but in the book, the best example is the retirement plan at your business. Check the box to enroll in the retirement plan. Check the box to enroll in the retirement plan, or check the box to unenroll, meaning you've automatically been enrolled, right? And so the idea was that in this idea of choice architecture, most people would not disenroll themselves, right? They would just not enroll themselves. Okay, let me say that again. They would make the decision to not unenroll themselves, right? But they would not make the decision to enroll themselves. So it was harder to get them to enroll themselves as opposed to just automatically enrolling them and then making them unenroll themselves. Mm-hmm. You're making the decision for them. You've literally made the decision that you're enrolled. Now you need to make the decision to unenroll yourself from this. And most people would just disregard it. They wouldn't make the action to do that. And so it was much easier to just make the choice for them, choice architecture, and not try to make them make the decision. It's a crazy concept. But then when you start to really look at how you, for instance, the dinging for when you take your seatbelt off, ding, ding, ding. What is it telling you to do? It's telling you to do something. It's making a choice for you. You need to make the choice to plug that seatbelt back in. I drive an '01 and it doesn't ding. What do you drive?
An '02?
And it doesn't ding, right? They don't have these choice architectures built into the functionalities of your everyday life. No. And it's slowly getting there and there and there. Updating your phone, updating your computer.
Every time you update, it re-enrolls you in something in the background, and you don't realize.
And nobody reads the agreements, right? Yeah. This is a South Park episode. Nobody reads the agreements. We're all in a weird space where, like, we don't have the time or the intelligence to truly read through the terms of agreement for everything we subscribe to. Plain and simple. It's literally impossible for the layman, right?
Yeah.
To do all that work. It's just not fathomable. And they know that, and that's why it's set up that way. It's the same as taxes. It's the same as everything you weren't taught in school. You weren't taught anything in school. That's what we were talking about. Nobody taught us about money in school. No. Nobody taught us about taxes or money, finances, the stock market, bonds, treasuries, credit swaps, all these. There's so much out there. Billions, trillions, quadrillions of dollars, derivatives, quadrillions of derivatives based on dollars, which are fiat, which are printed, which are fake. So, like, there's this whole, like, storyline that we've kind of grown up under. We're getting deep here, but...
Well, they didn't teach you how to bend the rules either. You know what I mean? Which anybody who is honest with knowing the structure of society, they know that bending the rules is necessary. And for myself, who's tried to make an honest wage for so long, and realizing that, yeah, you could be happy and normal and live a very good life, you know, because the truth is normalcy is it's underrated. Because with normalcy, you don't have a billion options. You just have a few options.
Yep.
And you seem to come out more content with your life because you're not on this scale of hierarchy to where you have so many options and then you don't know what to choose.
Yeah.
Because you're so high up. So
It's like a in and out of life, right? In-N-Out Burger has like 6 options.
Yeah.
Which is like the best thing. Limit options. Mm-hmm. Make it quick, make it efficient.
Yeah, and make your customers choice. Loyal too. Yeah. What the limiting of options creates is loyalty.
Yep.
And the difference is that we try to peddle so many options to each other, and then it's like walking into a buffet that has every cultural dish, and you don't know what to choose. So you put pizza next to chow mein, next to a salad, and then you cover it all in ranch, which is delicious. But the truth is, would you be just as happy if you only had that chow mein to choose or that pizza to choose? And going back, what were we talking about before this? I lost my train of thought. Reversing back to, growing up in this... Yeah, growing up in this pre-enrollment society to where not only are your parents are the greatest pre-enrollment, you know, like I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine that that's my job, is to pre-enroll my children into...
Parents are a form of choice architecture, right? They're shaping the decisions you make. Mm-hmm. Now, it can be for the good or it can be for the bad, or it can be for their benefit or their... Right, like parents live vicariously through children, so sometimes maybe decisions are made based on the idea of living vicariously.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not grounded in ideal morals and foundations that would be respectable. Maybe they're just grounded in I didn't get to do this, therefore
I want you to do it.
I want you to do it,
yep.
And I want to experience it through you. And so, yeah. Another part of the human experience, right? It's interesting to watch the internet take away from the present. because so many people think that what you do needs to be captured clearly, right? This is one of the reasons why I didn't video our first Cat and I's first locals only thing, was because I just like this idea, like you say, this fixation on visuals. Why do I have to why do I have to put up a video to prove that I did it? I shouldn't. I can sit here and have a conversation.
Because your eyes are the weakest link. Your eyes are the easiest thing to capture than all the other four senses.
Yep.
And it's awesome, because who doesn't love the gift of sight? It's like it's the ultimate, right? It's the ultimate, because you could live without the other four, but it would be a very numbing experience of life without those other.
But are views the same without the smell? Are views the same without the sound? Like, hard to say without experiencing it, right?
No.
Hard to stand on the cliff next to the ocean and look at it and think, well, I wonder what this smells like. I wonder what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Wonder what it tastes like, because scent and taste are basically tied together. So, I mean, I'd almost, it's tough. It's tough, yeah. That's another thing we take for granted. All four senses. All four.
The other sense.
6 senses.
Yeah, the other sense is that the internet hasn't
5
yet
senses,
figured out a way to
all the senses.
shove in our face. You know, if you were able to swipe through your bullshit feed and smell every room that person filmed, you'd remember all of it. The difference is that we don't remember half of those videos that we watch, because it's only pertaining to those two senses. And so when you have a world, when you're creating such a world that's overstimulating.
Well, it's void of the other key senses, right?
Yeah.
A visual. Okay, so if you're a Twitch person or a YouTube person or a streamer, you're voiding the experience of taste, scent, and sound. Well, I guess not sound, but true sound.
Yeah.
Because true auditory sound in the room is different than digital sound through the device, through the other device, through the other device, through the wires, out the other end, right? This is the disconnect. The disconnect is that you think, well, I'm getting visual and sound. No, you're getting visual, because sound is not real through digital, and you're not getting scent or taste. And taste and scent, you think taste is weird, but like me talking, like
well,
you're tasting the environment
right now, you know.
Yeah, kombucha
and it's influencing our conversation, right? And it smells good too.
Cheers to kombucha, but the idea that like while you're talking, taste isn't a product of right. Like if this room was filled with gasoline, it'd be harder to talk because I'd be tasting the gasoline in the room. So yeah, scent and taste are tied together, and the phone, the video cameras, the computers, they literally eliminate the real core senses. Visual is one, but the other three together, sound, taste, and smell, are pretty strong. Touch, obviously, but touch is also void because you're not touching anything. Well, there's a camera, so
yeah.
So 2 of them are void and 3 are 4 are void and 1's active. Like, that's not a good ratio.
No, and it reigns supreme. Those are the only 2 that you really need in order to survive, you know, and in the digital realm. In the real world, those other senses are actually more important, and they're more of a priority.
Yeah.
And so you can find if you're happy or not, or if you're content with life or not, based on whether you're spending more time in that realm than if you're in this realm, the outside world, where you're engaging in your other senses. And it makes me continually think about the future, and if there is, you know, going back to the opt-in, opt-out option, is there going to be an option to opt out of this digital realm? If you want to go off grid, because the truth is all that off grid shit, man, they're still connected to the internet. The truth is that the internet and the streaming is more important than a water stream outside, a water source. So can humans live in the future without going crazy if there was no more internet? because we've been so stimulated by it, do you think it would cause...
I don't think stimulation's the issue. I think just connectivity is the issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
your directions come from it, your recipes come from it, your entertainment comes from it.
Your loved ones, you know, talking to your loved ones.
Internet. Like, there is so much tied into the interwebs that I don't think... No. The internet's down. We're going to see some issues, I think. But luckily you live next to
a buffet pizza place, man.
A buffet pizza place and an internet company, so I think you'll get Wi-Fi just fine. No, I mean, I think like Texas grid went out, what was it, last year, 2 years,
I think it was
2 years ago.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter, their grid went out and their water turned off for a week. A week. I don't know how you don't hear that and think like, well, that's concerning. Maybe I should consider the fact that there's only 4 substations in the entire country that need to go out for the entire grid to go out. 4 substations. I don't know if we should be recording what I'm saying, but yeah.
But I bet the internet didn't go out for that long. I bet you they all figured out a way to get LTE through mobile hotspots and
satellites.
So you think about the, you know, like Mother Nature, which Mother Nature is going to do exactly what she needs to do in order to compensate for all of this. And so when you think about our needs in that moment, which I'm not saying that I know what those people went through, but I know that water and internet are literally like elements that the human has evolved to need equally. So to go a week without water, right, or 6 days without water and your body can't survive, how do we now compare that to 6 days without internet in a future world, and to where for us, like, if we ever got in that situation, like, would we be what's it called when you're dying of thirst? Are we going to be dehydrated from the internet? Like, is there going to be some sort of physical response that we're going to have from not having a streaming flow of content and information in our lives?
Right. And
our body's going to react to it in the same way that you would if you didn't have water.
It's a great question. We're definitely building that dependence heavily the more we upload. So, I mean, here we are doing digital things to upload them. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an inevitability that you're going to run into a scarcity of a well that people are trying to draw from that isn't drawable.
A thirst for information when there's no more information and the internet is capped, and you're like, okay, now we just got to tell stories about what the internet was and all those cool videos we used to watch, because there's no more space, or you know what, you can't upload anymore. And so even if
you know what's crazy too is, like, I'm in the process, so like this concept of like photos can live on. Photos can be printed physically and exist. Video can never exist in a physical realm. So I'm in the process of digitizing my dad's footage that he has from him flying in an F-16. Not the Blue Angels, the what are they called? The I forget. Anyways.
Blue Angels?
No, Blue Angels are the Blue Jets, and then there's red, white, and blue ones, and they're called. It's Air Force versus Navy, not verse, but Blue Angels are Navy. Air Force is the. Anyways, I'm in the process of digitizing his 8mm tapes.
That's awesome.
That were in the cockpit while he was doing this whole thing, and some 8mm tapes that I did as a kid growing up, and just like trying to digitize 8mm physical tapes into something that we can store digitally somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, you think of this concept of storing digitally, and it's like, well, that's not forever, because you have to have electricity. If I don't have that, then that, all these things on the wall that are physically here, well, that's different than this block of electric wires. It's like, well, you can't access me now, but it has everything for a decade on it. But I have one. I literally one sits on my shelf that I can't. It just clicks. It doesn't ever turn on. I can't get into it, and it's got so many memories on it. And I keep it just in case I find someone's like, oh, I could open that up and extract it. So I'm waiting to find someone that'll do that. But who knows? Who knows
how long they're going to last, right? You're going to check your external hard drive in 50 years. I mean, is the stuff going to physically still be there?
I was going through one today, and I'm like, I bet you I have over 100,000 pieces of content between all of my hard drives. That's like, do the math on like how long it would take for you to go through 100,000 things at, let's just say 2 seconds a thing. 1, 2, click, 1, 2, click, 1, 2, click, 1, 2, click. Take you days to go through.
That'd be an interesting thing to measure, to see
Yeah.
how much time it would take for you to go through all of your digital data. By the time, let's say by the time you're retired.
Yeah.
By the time you turn 65 and you don't have shit to do, you made all your money, now you have to go through 50 years of digital data. That would kill your mind. The thing is too, is that healthy for the mind?
No.
Like at that point,
No.
because right now you can't tell a photo that was taken now or 7 or 8 years ago, because the photography, digital photography, is just as good 7 years ago as it is now.
Yep.
Whereas back in the day, you could see a photo that was taken in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s, and the 50s, and you could date all that visually because you could see how good the cameras were, and then you get to the 70s and the 60s, and then there were still sepia tone and black and white, and then 50s and below was all black and white. So color could tell you could see a black and white photo, and it felt like it was in the past. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, everything feels so current. Even if it was 6 years ago and your iPhone took it 6 years ago, it feels like it was fucking yesterday. So the question is...
there's like a distortion in time.
Yeah. The question is that going to be easier or harder for us to let go of the past in the future? When you're looking at video from 30 years ago,
I had 1,000 photos on that.
That's
well,
crazy.
I had 1,000 photos. What does 1,000 photos mean? That mean that's so many photos. You had 1, 2, 3 good photos.
Yeah.
There was like 15,000 photos on that phone that I lost. So you still experience and live those right? Like, you're right. We're creating this and I'm just as guilty because I'm the hard drive guy. I'm trying to preserve it. I got these memory cards. Just put them away.
Yeah.
Get new ones. Preserve those just as backups. I love memories. Maybe that's because I've lost a parent. Maybe that's loss makes you be whoa, way more sentimental. Maybe not. Maybe it's that I document so much that I'm I get lost in my own documentation. And I'm whoa, this was then, this was that. I have so much content that I've gone. I mean, I bet I've shot at least 250,000 images.
That's a lot, man.
At least in the decade I've been doing this, at least 250,000 images. At least.
If you
video, photo,
say that your video is actually a bunch of
frame
photos,
rates, right?
Yeah, we've all probably shot millions of photos.
I shot 120 frames a second.
Yeah,
so that's
right. You probably had
4,000 years. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, But for real, I mean, I've definitely put in. That's also another. Have you ever read the book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell? Mm-mm. Fantastic book. He talks about the idea of the 10,000 hour rule, which is you have to do something for roughly 10,000 hours to be an expert at it. And the Beatles did that. Bill Gates did that because he had access to his neighborhood computer, which was one of the first computers ever programmable in the country. and he had access to it at a young age. This is all in the book, but yeah, you have to put in the fucking time. You think Navy SEALs are the baddest motherfuckers on the planet because they like did 3 months? No, years and hours and years and hours and days and like.
It's funny because I just literally last night watched a Navy SEAL training video.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm working out now, so it's like I want to understand what is the mental aspect of going through physical pain, you know, and like the truth is that the whole process of the Navy SEAL training is so that you gain control of your mind, and those are the only people that actually pass after 6 months.
Yep.
Are the people that can turn the pain off and stick to the
Focus,
job.
yeah.
Focus on that job, because it is about war and it is about protecting your team too. But watching that, man, and seeing that, like, and being at the gym today and trying to just like do it, and then I got to a point where it hurt, and then I'm like, okay, turn the fucking pain off and just keep going. You know what I mean? And realizing that so much of my conditioning up until this point has been listening to that and saying, oh, take a break, you're hurting. You know what I mean? This almost motherly type of mentality to myself to say, son, you're tired, you're hurting, sit down, relax, take a shower, and have a nice meal, you know? Whereas if it was like a fatherly type of thing in my brain saying, son, fucking stop whining and continue, you know what I mean? The job is not finished. So it's just interesting that you brought up Navy SEALs, and also then going back to somebody like Bill Gates, who's not freaking in shape at all, but that kind of mental thing, no Navy SEAL could sit there and write code for 10 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
it's a discipline. It's all about discipline.
It's all discipline.
Yep.
It's all in the head, and like.
Yep. All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Great call. So 24 hours a day, 365 days a year is only 8,760 hours.
Wow.
So if you were to practice something every hour of the day for the next year, you'd still be sub 10,000 hours. That's how much 10,000 hours matters, right? Like, how much time are you dedicating to what you're trying to become perfect at?
Yeah.
That's just a simple testament to be talked about. Like, you got to put in the work, plain and simple. All right, I got to go.
Cool. Well, this is the first episode of the Tired Eyes podcast. And feel free to check in on us for the next episode.
Cheers.
Adios.